Picture this. The lobby of a 5-star hotel in Kuala Lumpur. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Chandeliers dripping with crystal. A reception desk staffed by 6 immaculate employees. And almost nobody walking through the front door. Now step outside that hotel. The street is packed. The LRT is overcrowded. Hawker stalls are 3 people deep. Shopping malls are so loud you can barely hear yourself think. Kuala Lumpur. According to headlines, government press releases, and tourism campaigns, is booming. In fact, Malaysia just recorded one of the strongest tourism years in its history. So why are hotel rooms empty? That's the question nobody in Putrajaya once asked. And it's the question we're going to break down, carefully, directly, and with the kind of numbers usually buried in industry reports. This is not a story about Malaysia failing. This is something more complex, and more dangerous. This is something more complex, and more dangerous. A country that is succeeding brilliantly at attracting visitors, while the industry built to serve them is quietly struggling beneath the surface. Let's start with the headline number, because it's real, and it's extraordinary. In 2024, Malaysia welcomed 38 million international visitors. That's a 31.1% increase from 2023, and 8.3% higher than pre-pandemic 2019 levels. By August 2025, arrivals had already crossed 28 million, and projections suggested the country could exceed 40 million visitors by year-end. To put that into perspective, Malaysia has a population of around 35 million people. It's receiving more visitors than residents. The government's targets reflect that momentum. 45 million visitors for 2025. 47 million for Visit Malaysia year 2026. Hundreds of billions in tourism spending. Marketing campaigns are everywhere. China, Japan, South Korea, the UK. By every visible metric, Malaysia is winning. And yet, hotels are still half empty. That contradiction is the core of the story. Because in the hotel industry, the number that matters isn't arrivals, it's RevPAR, revenue per available room. And in Kuala Lumpur, that number has been under pressure for years. Even before COVID-19, data showed Kuala Lumpur had the lowest RevPAR among major ASEAN cities, despite being one of the most visited. Then the pandemic hit. Occupancy rates collapsed to barely 28% nationwide in 2021. Hotels shut entire floors. Staff were laid off. Buildings stood silent. Recovery came, but slowly. By 2024, occupancy had risen to about 60.8%. Better, but still below the pre-pandemic norm of around 70%. And here's the key point. That 60% occupancy came during a year with 38 million visitors. Tourists were coming. They just weren't staying in hotels. So where were they staying? The first answer, Airbnb. Short-term rentals have exploded across Malaysia. Thousands of listings, especially in Kuala Lumpur, offer cheaper, more flexible alternatives. Lower costs. No staffing overhead. No expensive infrastructure. For travelers comparing prices online, the difference is obvious. And every night spent in an Airbnb is a night a hotel room sits empty. But that's only part of the problem. The second issue is overbuilding. Between 2010 and 2016, hotel room supply in the Klang Valley more than doubled. Demand didn't keep up. And instead of slowing down, development continued. New luxury hotels. International brands. Massive projects. More rooms, into a market that already had too many. The third issue is even more subtle. Not all tourists actually stay overnight. A significant portion are day trippers, crossing borders for shopping, food, or fuel. They're counted in arrival statistics. But they don't book hotel rooms. So the headline numbers look strong, but they don't reflect hotel demand. Even among overnight visitors, many choose budget stays, hostels, or short-term rentals. At the same time, hotels face rising costs, staff wages, utilities, maintenance, and heavy commissions from online booking platforms. You can have decent occupancy and still lose money. And many hotels are. Here's the irony. The government's solution is more tourism promotion, more visitors, more campaigns, more flights. And it's working, on paper. But more tourists doesn't automatically mean more hotel guests. Because the system itself is misaligned. More arrivals don't fix oversupply. They don't regulate short-term rentals. They don't change how travelers behave. There are bright spots. Luxury hotels fill up during peak seasons. Medical tourism is growing. Concert tourism is booming. But these are pockets of success, not a solution to the structural imbalance. Looking ahead, things could become even more complicated. New transport links will increase cross-border travel, bringing even more day trippers. More hotel projects are already underway. Supply will keep growing. The real question isn't whether tourism will grow. It will. The question is whether that growth will actually support the hotel industry. Right now, the answer is no. And unless the structural issues are addressed, oversupply, short-term rental competition, and misaligned metrics, the gap between booming tourism and struggling hotels will keep widening. So that quiet hotel lobby? It's not a temporary anomaly. It's a signal. The tourists are coming. The numbers are real. But increasingly, they're sleeping somewhere else.